Well, thanks everybody. We'll get this impromptu meeting done. So, just like a record show that we have 4 of us here. Unless Mr. Patrick comes late. And the big agenda item. If most of you don't know, or you should know, that originally we were going to take a vote tonight to discuss the position. We can't, by law, you cannot pick you can't fill a vacancy until it's actually vacant.
Way to make it difficult, Karen.
We were all ready for it. It was some silly law that says you can't do that. So because we had, and immediately when I found out, I called both Erica and Jim and said, hey, we can't do it, before I let everybody else know. And I said, well, we have the meeting posted. People wanted to speak. We gathered some letters, and the candidates, the last 2 candidates on this, we didn't really open up a position, a place in an agenda where the candidates could just come say hi to the board. So I asked both of them if they were okay with doing this, and sometimes it's easier to hold the meeting than it is to try to unpost it. So following all the proper protocol and rules. So this meeting honestly is just here I want to give each of the candidates some time to talk, and then the public can speak. I do just ask that we keep it quick. We have a joint board after this, and so apparently the parking lot is full, and there's 14 other members, or 11 other members of the joint board that have to come in right around 6 o'clock. So we'll do all that. Amelia's keeping the records. Did you turn? Are you recording?
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay, so Jim's recording. So I'll let the candidates speak, and we'll do the gentlemen singing ladies first, I guess. Okay, well, first of all, before I do that, thank you both. I'll tell you right now, this isn't easy. And any one of the board members here will tell you that. And I will tell you that the minute you get on the board, we ought to just paint big targets on your back. Because it's a tough decision. You honestly, and I'll tell you from experience, you honestly do not know what we do until you're doing it. There's no training. There's a get up and go. Kerry, we had a lot of fun with him in the spring. In the fall, when we started, because he came in and it was like, here's the budget, let's go. So there is no lead-in, there is no real, let's get warm and fuzzy, and this position is actually jumping right into the voting for the budget, preparing for the district hearing, preparing for the district meeting. And that's bringing the budget and all warrant articles before the taxpayers. So that's a very busy time of the year. And Carol, you sit on 2 committees, Transportation and Policy?
Yes.
So immediately we'll need to either, we can, depending on what the board thinks at the time, whomever gets on, we can either shuffle around the committees to make it work, or somebody's got to jump right in on hers. I believe the joint board already filled your treasurer position, correct? Not yet. We got to do that. So Carol was also the treasurer of the joint board. So besides this committees that report back and forth, her transportation takes up a bunch of her time when she's settling all the bus routes, or if we have to change anything. And the policies, if you've been to our meetings, are a very big part of A, keeping the meeting moving along, and B, making sure that it's correct and according to state standards and everything we have to deal with. That's really what we as board members do, is we play with the budget and we set policies. So that's really important to get done. So Ms. Helm, I'll turn it over to you. I'm done talking.
So I guess I should say, am I addressing you? Like, are you envisioning this, or I feel
Sure.
bad?
We're all from Stratford, and we're all just talking.
And I don't, some of you don't know me, so I was gonna, I've lived in Stratford for 20 years. As I said in my cover letter, I have 4 kids in the school right now. 2 in Stratford School, 2 at Co-Brown. And I mean no slight to my stepdaughter, who also did 2 years at Stratford School and 4 years at Co-Brown. So I have a little bit of, and she's older now, she's almost 30. So I have some longitudinal history with the school, although I was not as involved when she was in school. My background is, my bachelor's is in theater, so that's not so much applicable, although there is a lot of drama, I know. My master's is in mental health counseling. So I spent some time after graduate school doing in-home, court-ordered counseling for families involved in the juvenile justice and child protective services. And then for the since 2003, fall of 2003, have been the family services facilitator for the Dover School District, which is the out-of-district coordinator, the court liaison, restraint trainer, sort of the junk drawer. Other duties as described often end up on my desk. So I have the perspective of working in a school system, although I want to be very clear, I am not a classroom teacher, and I, besides Sunday school, have not been a classroom teacher. But I do appreciate what goes into that. I know that Dover's a very different environment than Stratford, obviously, but because I, through my position as out-of-district coordinator, I also have been in a lot of other schools. So I do sort of have a breadth perspective of different size schools, things that go into running a school. And I understand that there are things that are pie in the sky, Cadillac education, that we are not able to offer always. And there are some things that we can get pretty close to that because we are a small school in Stratford, and including Co-Brown in this area. And that offers a lot of advantages that bigger districts don't have without necessarily increasing the price tag. At the same time, I know there are times we have to say no. I think it is very important in those situations that we've done a really good job at examining both sides and really making an informed decision about what's the payoff. If we're having to say no to keeping the teacher position on those dip years when a teaching position had to be let go, what's the trade-off for that? Because every decision has a consequence. So I think it's very important that we really acknowledge that, and it is not a situation of making knee-jerk decisions simply based on price tag. Because I think that is as dangerous as, or potentially dangerous as, blanketly saying yes to everything and having our tax bill go up. So there are two sides to any issue, and I think that careful examination of that is really important, and an honest discussion about that, and then we're really making an informed choice. I think there's a fine line between public involvement and public awareness, and shifting into entitlement. I don't know that every decision is up for public debate. There are some times when administration makes a decision, or the superintendent as the next level of administration, or the school board, that doesn't need to be hashed out to death in a public arena. I think we do a good job at trying to inform the public. I think there are times, and I guess most of this happens on social media, that there are discussions where not all the facts are presented. It's easy to take sides not knowing all of the information. I'm thinking particularly of contract negotiations. I would say 99% of the people in this room were not in the room, or 98% were in the room when those negotiations happened. So to pass judgment around decisions made, having not been part of those discussions, is not fair to either side. Do you have questions? I feel like I'm sort of rambling.
No, I mean, again, we're in meet and greet, so, I mean, we don't want to hammer you on one thing and have Mr. Russo get different questions.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
Trying to keep that fair and impartial thing. I mean, any of the board members have any big questions? I mean, we have a nice letter that stated a lot of those same facts to us. But if not,
Well, I just want to make sure that both people understand the time commitment. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's a lot of time. And we have at least 3 meetings a month, evening meetings, plus
Right.
committee meetings. So you have committees, like I'm on the education committee at Co-Brown. So I can have 2 more evening meetings a month with that, depending on what committees you're on.
Right.
And, you know, most of us are on, I think I'm like on 3 committees, 4
you had
committees.
4 at one time.
Or something like that. I mean, because somebody's got to be on them,
Sure.
and some of them meet during the day, so some people are working during the day and they can't be on them. So, and then the joint board, you have to be on committees for that as well. I think we're all on at least 2 committees
Yeah,
for
we
the
try.
joint board. I mean,
the
you're on
joint
the
board has a-
management committee,
The
you're
joint
on
board
the.
has a lot of representatives from each town.
So I mean, you could be out, and you both need to understand this, you could be out 5 times a month, 6 times a month. It's a lot of time, and it's vacations, it's all summer long. So just as long as you both understand what you're getting yourself into, before you jump in, further, just know that. That's all I wanna say right now. And then maybe after you both speak, I'll think of something.
Carrie, Carol?
I'm just listening.
Okay. I know, you're the impartial one.
I'm not saying a word.
You don't get to vote, so, but I mean, if you have anything to bring, you know, you've been on the board 6 years? Longer? 8? I can't remember when you started. So, I mean, again, like Deb just said, or I've said, if you have any words of wisdom about, you know, about what we do, you know, we can certainly use your experience in discussing, but if not, I'll set, Mr. Russo.
Hi guys, I think most of you actually do know me. Who doesn't? Who's never met me? Alright, cool. People on the camera probably haven't met me. I'm Jim Russo. I've been in Stratford for 4 years now. I've been involved in looking at the school board and the processes for the last couple of years. A lot of you that are around this table right now, you've seen me on social media. We've even exchanged some exchanges, some barbs even, from time and now and again. And that voice that you see online is different than the voice that the board is going to hear. Because the voice online is that of just a regular public person, not a public servant. And I'd like to go through and express that to all of you as well. So that you understand that if appointed to the board, I recognize the time commitment, first and foremost. Absolutely get that. I also recognize that I have to go through, and each one of you as taxpayers, I have to represent what you're looking at too. And I understand that. And I think if we go back in history and we take a look at what I've done online, you will see that there has been some bounce. Although we will go through and differ on things, absolutely. That's the nature of going through and having conversation. That's the nature of going through and even educating people as to what is taking place within our town, within what's happening. And not to go through and take away from the idea that a contract negotiation, as for instance, should go through and take place within the school board. It doesn't mean that we're uneducated. And when I started the process going on 2 years ago now, it was to go through and create conversation and to create education. And I would like to go through and have the board possibly recognize that that's exactly what is taking place, as is shown here. Whether you're for or against, we've got people who are showing up. And part of it due to conversation that's been created. And I would like to think that I helped take that. I bring that to the town. Whether we are in agreement or disagreement, we created conversation. And we created education. I would like to continue doing that as a board member. I would like to continue going through and having the conversation and to do it much more impartially because I would be representing everybody. I have a business degree from Champlain College up in Burlington, Vermont. I have been running my own business for 14 years, recently sold that business a couple years ago, and I am now an executive at Harbor Networks down in Framingham, Massachusetts. My business background goes through and has offered me the ability to learn how to make different decisions when, whether it be saying no or saying yes, to be all-inclusive in something or tailing it back. I have an ability to go through, an experience to go through and recognize a situation for what it is and make good determinations based upon my business experience. You can't run a successful business without first having some failures, learning from them, and having a number of successes. And I've been able to do both. Going through and looking at the time commitment, looking at the kids. I was a ski coach for over 10 years. Working with the younger kids, working with them and all their all their different nuances. I'm not an educator per se. That's most of you at that table over there. And I commend you for that job because I don't know that I could go through and be in that classroom day in, day out. But I was certainly there every single Saturday and Sunday, going through, dealing with cold hands, cold feet, making sure everybody was having a good time. Sometimes they weren't, and you had to go through and be that comforting person. So I understand from my small world what you go through on a daily basis. And I'd like to go through and support you in that, making sure you have all the tools you need to do that job, to make sure that the kids have everything they need to get the best education they can get. With that, I'll open it up to questions and thank you for your time.
Any questions for you? On the board? You guys want to open up to public comments? You all set?
I think we can open up to public, we can still come back and
Yeah.
ask some questions, sure.
So, I will open up at this time public comments and just ask Amelia's gonna try to type your name to get it, so please just enunciate for her, so she can get any names, but I'll open up to the floor in any random order or alphabetically by height.
Do you think that, before you open it up, Brian, that it should be more constructive, positive comments for the person that they're supporting?
I would think we'd like to go there.
I think that that's I know how some people, maybe I'm reading into some things, but I would try to keep it positive to the person you're supporting.
Can I just voice that I think that it's important to keep it positive for the person we're supporting, but also voicing our concern for someone that we may also not support?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But again, it becomes business, not personal. I know both of them. I knew both of the last people that started. It's tough to sit here and make decisions. So, I mean, and again, we're a small town. A lot of people know a lot of people. So, yeah, please. But again, open the floor, just somebody start and just please just state your name clearly so Amelia can get it
I'll start.
correctly.
Sarah, S-A-R-A-H, Kern, K-E-R-N. Do I have to give my address?
No.
No.
Just names.
That's town meeting. Got it. I try to follow the rules. Bill better moderate again, because they're not going to know what to do. I know. I'm just thinking about it. I came tonight in support of Erica Helm. I find her expertise in multiple aspects of dealing with schools incredible. Having worked in school systems, she is highly regarded across different districts. I no longer work in a school district. However, I have also seen Ms. Helm with her own children in schools and being advocates for them, as well as owning when, you know what, maybe it was her kid's fault. So there's no Pollyanna about that. I think that, sorry, I didn't bring paper, so I had to take notes on my phone. There is a business side to schools. Absolutely. You need electricity to run. You need to pay people. You have overhead for insurance, you name it, this, that, the other. I feel that Ms. Helm would have a very balanced and fair discussion without inflammatory remarks and tones that I have seen come from Mr. Russo beforehand. You say that you have created conversations. That is one way to say it. I would say that you've created a lot of arguments and a lot of false facts, and that you've actually divided a community in ways that they shouldn't have been divided. Not saying that you did that on purpose, and I know that it is my own opinion. It would be very difficult for me after observing you at town meetings. I will readily admit that I've blocked you on social media because I don't want to listen and see the barbs that are tossed back and forth. You've spread misinformation about me on social media.
So, can I just?
I'm going right back to it, I
Well,
promise.
yeah. So we wanna try to keep this positive.
Yep.
and
So I guess what I'm saying is, the way you hold yourself doesn't start once you get elected. Who you are and how you're perceived is with your history. So the day you get elected or appointed, that does not mean that you change who you are on either one of your sides. I don't expect Erica to change who she is, and I don't expect you to change who you are.
No, I hope I get voted in and appointed for exactly for who I am
I
and what I stand for.
Have absolutely
Thank
no.
you for your comments.
Yeah,
I
so
have
let's
absolutely
remember,
no doubt.
Keep it
So-
kind of this way,
Yeah.
and it's not really a grill either candidate type thing.
That's fine.
Thanks.
I think I would like to voice my support for Ms. Helm in that she has held herself professionally whenever I've seen her at school, whenever I've seen her volunteering, and that's it.
Thanks.
Can I just clarify something? Sarah, did you say you worked in the Dover School District?
No,
Oh, I thought I heard you say something.
I did work in public school districts. I
You
worked
said
in
something about
Milton, Stratford.
That Erica was well known or thought well
Highly
of?
regarded
Yeah.
in her job.
In the same, are you in the same district?
No.
I'm wondering where you got that information then.
So districts also talk to each other, especially
Okay.
within special ed and especially within,
I'm not doubting that you are.
No,
I just
no,
want
no,
you to know
totally fine.
where she's
yeah,
coming from.
yeah,
Yeah.
I could come in and say that, hey,
Right.
she's been the queen of Siam
Right,
and you
right.
wouldn't know. Sorry, that's
So
a bad
you
example, but.
say professional channels.
Professional channels,
Okay.
I almost said PTO, but that's paid time off. That's not what I meant.
Okay.
Teacher workshop days, many times we'll get together with outreach. Many times people will be in the same loops as far as, strategies that work with not migratory kids, but with transient populations. Many times it's important to check in and say, hey, what's worked there, what hasn't, that sort of deal. So, yeah, I've always heard very, very
Thank you.
Thanks.
highly
I mean,
regarded.
yeah, we need to keep moving. We get a lot. If
Sorry.
everybody wants to speak, we're going to round it up.
I'm gonna stop.
Because we do have another meeting coming. Somebody else, and please again, state your name.
Lex Buzzle, L-E-X-B-U-Z-Z-E-L-L. And I would throw support behind Erica. Let's see, she's been my neighbor for quite some time. I will speak to her fiscal responsibility based on the Volvo that she's been driving up and down the road for years and years and years. I mean, there's a talent there, and for people to be able to recognize, what's worth keeping and what's worth salvaging, and that's remarkable, really, just on the vehicle front. And I've seen her in the school, helping out with the DI and running DI teams, and so she knows the school, she knows the kids, she's there, and she's been there for quite some time, and I appreciate that. And during this time, I guess I'll say that I'll appreciate her demeanor, because we are a community, and where we might have our political differences, I think that, sometimes we know that we're there for kids, we're trying to raise respectful kids, we're trying to raise hard-working kids, and we're trying to raise kids that care about their community. And we do that by the examples that we set, and I see that Erica does that every day. Conversely, I don't see that out of General Russo. And these barbs that he speaks of are, well, flat out sometimes, I guess in the Old West, they'd be fighting words, and you can't, a leopard can't change its spots immediately, so I think that Erica's calm demeanor sort of wins the day on this one.
Okay, I mean, so two of you have talked about it. I just would like to say that, so I do keep an eye on social media only because as a board person, I think it's a great way to get the flavor of the town. There are arguments both ways, so I just would state that there is certainly not any one-sided argument that goes on in media times. You've heard me talk about it in board meetings about, hey folks, if you have something, come speak about it in the open. I know, yes, I know Jim has posted some things that have riled some people up. I've also seen people fire return volleys or even instigate. So there is a tete-a-tete that goes on at times, but thank you for your comments. Please.
Jessica McGrath, McGrath. I'm here to support Erica Helm. I strongly feel that she'd be an important addition to the current board. Her background and experience, especially in education and on other boards, would be a great benefit to both the school board and to the town. As a parent with children attending Stratford School, I would like to see someone with this type of experience on the board. Thank you.
Thanks. Someone else?
Rebecca Buswell, Erica's neighbor, and I've had the opportunity to work with her at Stratford with coaching DI teams. So I've seen her working with kids and other adults, and I would put her forward for her professional demeanor, and I think she's calm and thinks before she speaks, and I would recommend Erica highly for this position.
Thanks.
Lindsay Taylor. I wrote a letter which you guys I'm sure will be privy to, so I won't go into her
Yeah.
experience.
I should have started at the beginning. Any email sent, the board gets copies.
Yeah. So I'm just going to reiterate just the last paragraph of that as an outsider, it is clear that this board needs to come together with the teachers, administration, and community and to not be further torn apart. Erica does not come with an agenda, but rather a pledge to listen to the needs of everyone involved and to act upon those interests. She would put her expertise to work on behalf of all the taxpayers, students, teachers, and administration of Stratford. I have no doubt that Erica will play a key role in bringing fiscal responsibility to the budget, all while strengthening success at Stratford School.
Thanks. And is that included in your email? Okay. Anyone else?
Hi, Audrey Dolan. I'm here to speak and put Erica's name forward for the board because I really think she'd make a wonderful addition to this board. I've worked kind of side by side with Erica because how long ago was Zach in 4th grade? When I first
Senior now.
He's a senior now, so I've had many of her children in school. I've seen her coach DI. I've seen her work volunteering her. I can't even imagine how many hours she has dedicated to Stratford School through drama assistance, band assistance, DI. I see her with the Scouts. Everything that happens in that school, Eric is there to lend a hand. She's very patient with children and she's patient with adults. She's always conducts herself very professionally. As you heard her speak today, she speaks very articulately and clearly. I think she would make a wonderful addition to this board. She'd bring a lot to the table. So I'd like to support Erica as well.
Thanks. You people showed up, come on. Don't
I
be
actually
shy.
just have a question for
Sure.
Erica. Is that okay? Do you still need my name? Jennifer Trafton. Trafton. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but did you not volunteer for the fire department years ago?
Years ago, yeah.
So what was, I remember that, because I'm pretty sure you came to my house.
Yeah.
So.
I wasn't going to say it, but yeah. With the EMT side. So 5 or 6 years, and then kids sort of get in the way of midnight calls when they're little. But yeah, so for 5 or 6 years I was an EMT with Stratford.
So, and for the record, so kids in school now?
Sorry?
Were your kids in
I
school?
had 2 7th graders and then a sophomore and a senior.
Mr. Russo, kids in school?
Yes, I have a kindergartner and an 8th grader and a sophomore. Junior.
So we both have kids in both schools, both systems?
Yes.
Correct.
I'll go.
Please.
Jessica Grant, Grant. So I wrote a letter as well. I don't want to go through the whole thing. It's a little bit lengthy, but I don't know Erica, but I've spoken to people that do and done a little bit of research. I also read her letter of intent, and I'd like to put support behind her. I'll just read one thing that I think is kind of summarizing what people have been saying here. I feel that a good nominee for school board should not have a single issue focus, but instead should be interested in the success of all the students in the school system. A candidate should have an even temper and a willingness to collaborate paired with a sincere interest in public education in our community. From what I've been told from people, I feel that this would be the case. I feel that Erica is by far the best person for the position. I hope that you'll consider this and support her when you make your decision.
And that is in the email you
It
sent?
is in the email,
Okay.
yep.
That way, we don't have to type it out, Amelia doesn't have to go hammer away and keypads. And again, all of those emails that get sent to the school board address get included in our minutes, and they'll be presented to the board in the January meeting that we vote at. We're still open, folks. Either candidate want to clarify? I don't want to respond because I don't want to, I honestly, this, if people want to grill candidates outside, have at it.
Off school property.
But it's, yeah, I mean, honestly, so this was really just for the board to meet. I mean, again, I know them both, Jim better than Erica, but I wanted them to have a chance to address the rest of the board members. We're short one, but we'll certainly get all this information on to Mr. Patrick. And then I wanted to let people speak now. So when it comes to January, we got a ton of stuff to do and really can't have a 35, 45-minute discussion time at that time because we're gonna need to get the board member in. I'm gonna try to get the district clerk at the time to show up so that we can swear that person right in. And then we need to keep going full speed ahead because just 1 month later, we have a district hearing to bring a full budget and warrants to the town. And then a few weeks after, the full district meeting that we are doubling up with the town. And there's still an arm wrestling over who goes first, but we'll deal with that with selectmen. So if,
Sorry, I have a question for you, Mr. Monahan. When we are doing two different kinds of meetings on the same day, isn't it kind of important that we at least have a start time posted for the school like, you can't just say following town meeting,
no.
there has to be a time.
yeah, so the second meeting, and we've gone back and forth with the selectmen on this. The second meeting will have a posted time because we can't start before it, but we can start after. So if we, because we're gonna kind of guess the first time because we cannot start any business before somebody who wanted to be there was told to be there. But if we say the second meeting starts at 10 and we don't start till 11, well, we're safe because that person should have known, okay, we're gonna be there. So there's some gamesmanship. We're trying to figure out with the selectmen, you kind of guesstimate, well, how long is the discussion gonna go? How easily are things gonna pass? A lot of that has to do with an information like this where we get to hear from people and again, Mr. Russo is videotaping and he'll post it so people get to hear that. People coming to the district hearing. We beat up the budget a lot that night because we present it line by line. If we don't have to do that at the town meeting, it saves us hours. So that's why we've always tried to say it's important for people to either come to that or talk about it.
It's the budget hearing.
The budget hearing.
District meeting is in March.
Yeah.
We usually have the end of January.
The district hearing. The district hearing is in February, the district meeting is in March. And yeah, we get them all confused at times. Yeah, that's the district hearing is the budget hearing.
I have a question. What's the process that the board goes through when there's two candidates like this to appoint somebody? Like, is there guidelines that you use?
We have 5 independent people that make up a board, and so when we did it in the fall, this is actually the 3rd appointment since I've been on the board that we've had to do. So we'll open up to the board members to talk about each candidate, and we just do a vote by name, and 3-2, 4-1, 5-0, majority wins. If it's, well, that wouldn't be 5-0 because only 4 of us. If it's a tie, it goes to the selectmen. We have done that
before too.
And the selectmen hate that. But
It's actually nice it puts it on them.
that is by law.
And how is the selectmen, how are they gonna be privy to all the information, the emails, the conversation
So
here?
when we did it the last time, I brought any information I had to them and gave it to them. So they're a board of 3, so there can't be a tie there, unless of course there isn't a quorum, and then it just keeps bumping. And this is all following the RSA's is how this is done. So we did have a hung board, 2 ago. And then so as the board chair, we went to the selectmen meeting with the 2 candidates, and I brought all the information, and they, actually, the 2 candidates asked them, and they actually asked them some questions, because they hadn't met them, they gave them a chance to speak and asked them a couple of questions, and then, yeah, just like you're sitting here, all in favor of it, and 2-1, you move on, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult to sit here with people at the end of the table, but we are elected to make these decisions, and it's not easy. So and so again, this position is only until the March election, at which time there will be 3 seats open. The 2 rotating yearly seats, and then the one-year seat to finish out Ms. Lord's position. And that again is all by law. So, and the names that go in have to be identified by the seat. So a candidate can't put their name in and get elected and pick on a 2-year or on a 1-year or a 3-year. It's no, you went for a 3-year seat or you went for the 1-year seat. If you go, 3 people go for the 2 1-year seats and somebody doesn't get picked, you don't make you get appointed to the 1-year seat. That's a public vote. It's not out of the board's hands.
And I think that, when is the due date to sign up for that? Is it sometime?
The district clerk posts it.
It's usually the last 2 weeks of January, is that?
January 20th.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
And
right,
then-
you were involved in it.
Yeah, so you have to go to the town office.
Yeah, and we'll present all of that information when we get that far. So again, right now, we're kind of in hold mode. I do implore to both candidates to come to the meetings, because we'll be beating up the budget even more over the next 2. And then that first one in January, I'll work the agenda with, the superintendent's secretary to, right out of the gate, we're gonna wanna, get the person elected, nominated. Hopefully the district clerk can be there so she can swear, Christine Baines, so she can swear the person in right away. And, don't expect to leave early.
I have a couple follow-ups.
I
Sure.
can address the board real quick. So, you guys have known me, you've seen me show up, and I've been showing up regularly. I've been going through and I've been doing the videotaping. And this evening, we have quite a few residents who are here, and I'd like for you to go through and take another look at those who have sent in their emails in support of me. I'd like you to take into consideration the fact that I have been monitoring the budget a lot, and being that in the interim position, the one that'll last all of 3 months, that's what you're going to probably want some more input on, not from a board perspective. I'd like you to take that into consideration as well.
Okay.
And thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Erica, looking at the letter that you wrote, why do you think it's a fractious time for the board?
I think perhaps it would have been more accurate to say for the district as a whole. I think, I don't remember in years past, like 3 or 4, 5 years ago, things being this heated, although there are always situations. When I was on the fire department, we were asking for a new building, and that got pretty contentious, pretty much differently, because social media wasn't available.
Right.
So
So you mean more what's going on in the community,
yes,
not so
yes,
much the
not
board?
within the board,
I
yes,
thought-
I'm
I
sorry,
thought
that
there
was
something
poorly
that was
phrased,
going
I'm
on I
sorry,
didn't know
no.
about.
We don't talk about it.
Deb's aware of that, Deb? Deb, they forgot to tell you.
And I completely agree with you, Arden, and I also agree with Mr. Russo, is that, so, knowledge, I came on the board, this is now my 5th year, and a lot of what went on behind the scenes, people didn't know about. And so bringing that forward did stir some of this pot up, because you do get different opinions of which way to go. We will always have the people that think that we should cut budgets by half, and, back when they went to school and used slate and chalk, that was fine. And we have other people, that we want to have, launching rockets out of this roof of the building. So, you temper that to both sides of making sure that you listen, but we've had, through all the noise, a lot of times there's actually very good discussion. And it is so hard, you've heard me talk about meetings, it's so hard to communicate within this town. It's tough to not want to use social media because it's a way to do it. The problem is every time you type something, you can get into the comment race, and somebody had made a mention to me.
No-win situation.
Somebody had made a mention to me that they've noticed that I've been trying to put more stuff out lately. Well, we actually, at a board meeting 2 ago, talked about that, and so the board as a whole, I represent it as the chairman, but the board as a whole talks about everything that goes out, and we try to keep it factual. And I love when people ask questions to clarify things, as both of you said, without arguing. Just because something is something somebody doesn't like doesn't mean it's not correct. And we can work on that. But if the number's 7 and you don't like it, it's still the number 7. And okay, maybe we can do something, and through good discussion. That's when I implore people, hey, come to the board. This is what it is. We're not scary. There's a bunch of people who are crazy enough to try to get elected to this position, and we're given a huge responsibility. We have 1 employee. He's right here. That's the only guy that works on the school board. Everybody else works for the school administration and below. We don't hire, fire, deal with teachers. We don't hire, fire, deal with, or set curriculum. We listen a lot, and we use all the resident experts, and we fund it, right? So
And we make the decision.
we set numerous policies, and we fund based on a lot of input from the smart people that come to our tables. I tell people all the time, I'm a retired Air Force pilot. I never sat in a classroom, so I'm not, please don't ask me. And it's amazing how much stuff comes to the board that really should be held either in the classroom or administration level, or never get through the SAU. And you know that from your job. And there's just stuff that the board shouldn't deal with. And I think people are stunned all the time when they say, "Did you hear this goes on in the schools?" Like, no idea. And we don't need it. We pay a lot of smart people to take care of those kind of issues. That's their career. You want to talk about flying airplanes? I'm in. So I mean, I would implore on Deb, what Deb stated is, it's a lot of time. I was smiling the night that you were asking me that question, realizing it was 10:30 at night. And you said, well, how much time, what's a significant amount of time? Well, it's 10:30 at night and I'm answering school board stuff, so. And it can get that way, and it's hot and cold. As Deb said, we go through the summer, it quiets down quite a bit. And then all of a sudden, as the school year starts getting, you get the churn. It's almost like we close the year out in June, at the end of June, and like, okay, we take one big long breath, and then, bang, what did the town vote for us? What did they give us? Here's this brand spanking new budget. Oh, by the way, we got to close out the other year, and Dr. Gnomsky and his team are really scrambling to close budget years for us. The other side I would implore is board members is please help us pass the orders to what we do. We have a checkbook the size of the town that gives it to us at the meeting. If you give us $100, we have $100. We don't roll it over. We clear out the account every year. We only use what the town approves, which is why I implore, again, the board members to talk to people. Get them to understand when you hear something wrong, please say, no, that's really not how it is. Come to the board. You know what, when you sit on the side of the table, it's great to have people here to hear this, because then when they hear something that's inaccurate, they say, yeah, no, that's really not what we heard. I do like the fact that we get video. Some people do like it, some people don't like it. I'd like the town, that's up to the selectmen, to get us a TV channel that we could actually professionally do it, as Northwood does. I know a lot of people like it that way. There have been people watching it on the YouTube that gets posted, because it generates comments to me about it. And I bring that to the board, because people can't make these meetings all the time.
I just want to make a comment, Brian. And this is just a general comment. I believe that being on when you represent the town, you're on the school board, that I'm very careful about everything I write. I won't put, you probably never see me post anything on the town page, because I think it's important that we don't. I mean, it's one thing if Brian wants to put, he likes to put the budget or something up so that people, otherwise people wouldn't see it, things like that. But as far as your opinions and other political things, I personally don't think that's what a board member should be doing publicly, because we're looked at differently, and so we have to be careful.
Northwood's a great example of that right now. As a board member, you are not allowed to represent the board. So that's a really important line you never cross. You can have your own opinion. You go in the voting booth and you can make the X wherever you want. But when we hammer out something at the board meeting, you don't have to agree. And there isn't a single board member that hasn't lost some vote, argument, whatever, at the board meeting. But at the end of the day, the trick is to support the decision of the board. And if somebody says, hey, why did this happen? It's okay to say, I didn't really support it, but it was a board decision. That's one thing. Identifying yourself as a board member, speaking out, making inaccurate statements, that gets us in a lot of trouble. And again, there's a town going through that right now. And the joint board in all our school boards have learned a lot from that. You have to be very, very careful, as Deb said. And again, you'll see things from me. I clearly state I'm the chairman. I clearly state it's factual. I clearly state, hey, this is the stuff. If people ask clarification, I'll do that. But you'll see people kind of start going on the opinion side, and I stop talking. Because even myself as the chairman, even though they have told me I can do it, I cannot represent the board as a single person. You want to come to a meeting like this and ask and hammer away, okay, well, everybody's here, we can listen. That's a really important aspect of being a board member.
Right. Is there any thought to having, I've seen other schools do this, other school boards have a kind of a school board page on Facebook, not for the gossip, not for the garbage, for the posting of information? And the reason I ask is I saw at one point you posted that a lot of it's going to be directed to the Stratford News page. But I know a lot of community members that I've spoken to that actually blocked that page because it became so gossipy. So I mean, if it's just for the pure posting of, here's our budget, there's a meeting date, or hey, on Monday night we have a meeting to discuss this.
Yeah.
Right.
We
talked about that.
We did talk about it.
Yeah.
So I've had some people say, well, now I have to follow the community page, the news page, and a school board page, and a school page, and I know you're.
But Joe, do anything.
I know.
And they'll know that yours is valid.
No, I think that
In the rumor room.
I like your idea, and I think we should just.
in the room.
We also should block comments, so all you do is have information.
Yes,
So
right.
nobody gets involved
I
in
think you can do that as a
discussion.
posting,
Yes.
and you know, I'm not 17, so I'm not super Facebook savvy, but, I think there is a way you can do, so we kinda went down that road. First, we were just trying to see, hey, can we do this in and everybody remain adults? And,
No-win
so,
situation.
I mean, we were asked to keep it off the community page. And a little of that bothered me because people say, well, I don't wanna see that. I'm like, well, okay, but there's a lot of factual info in there. And again, you get the back and forth of, hey, look we all have one equality vote when it comes down. That's it. So we don't get 100 votes because we're school board members. We get 1 vote just like you guys do. So the back and forth sometimes, yes, it can get heated, yes, it can get opinionated, but it also sometimes brings information out that people don't see. And I agree. It's like, well, people say, well, can you move that over there? Well, now I'm trying to keep up on 2 different conversations. So yeah, I guess we could.
Just do our
Just
school
with
board
factual
page.
posting.
But
Yeah, with
what
no
you're,
comments.
what you're proposing is not a conversation,
No.
it's just
A
you-
posting.
a
We just wanna
posting,
put
right?
postings,
Yeah.
meeting
Yeah.
dates.
And that way they know that it's
I can
coming
play
from a
it.
Because we
legitimate
could put the
source.
budget, we could put agendas,
Yeah.
you could put any
So-
documents.
Yeah, so we have to, I will say, we have to wrap this up because I hear footsteps up, we'll probably block these spots. Now, we have a
Here
public hearing on the
forever.
joint board if people would like to stay on the public. And you are public, you live in town, so. From our board.
Are they outside? No, I told them they weren't allowed to be in the car.
Brian, has this meeting been adjourned?
Just adjourned it.
Okay.
Okay.
All of the
We
kids.
just adjourned. Thank you, everybody.